Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 25th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm delighted to say we're joined for the first time in what seems like a long time. Stevie Clifford alongside me. How are we doing, Stevie?
Yeah, mate, I'm good, thank you. It has been a while, actually. Somebody stopped us at Ibrox last week at the friendly game and told Johnny he needs to get me back on. But it's purely down to work. I was actually away with work and things, so I'm doing all right. Actually, Derek, today was my 38th day in a row out running. So I'm running 2-3 miles every day. So if you happen to be driving around Barhead at 5 a.m, you'll see me running about. So yeah, I'm doing 2-3 miles a day. Managed to come down a couple of stone and stuff. So it's been quite good. That's been going on quite a while. Obviously, I'd become a wee bit too chubby. So I don't mind being cuddly and warm for everybody and a wee hug and that, but I'd become too chubby. So I'm on the way to getting that all sorted out on a very strict diet as well. So got to try and look my best for Friday night as well, Derek. I don't want
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a big show coming up on Friday.
Don't want to go on at that stage looking massive. So I've done my best to try and sort that out, and I'll keep doing that over the next couple of months just to try and get back in shape. So it's been a busy wee period, but I've genuinely been working and been away, so I haven't really done much Rangers review stuff. But I'm delighted to be on this morning.
Yeah, as Stevie says, folks, there are still a few tickets left available for our live show on Friday night. I've put the New Espen House website link in the description box. Do click that if you're looking to join us on Friday. Cannot wait for it. Myself, Stevie, Joshua, Johnny, and Barry Ferguson will be joining us as well. Loads of prizes we're giving out also, so sure to be a great night. Just a tad late this morning, Mark Fullerton says, Derek's got another pigeon in the chimney. Thankfully, I do not, Mark.
It was my fault, I'm afraid. Apologies, it was my fault. Derek and I were discussing something, and I kept us on, so it was my fault. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, no problem at all, but good things come to those who wait. Right, lots to talk about. I'm going to kick off firstly, though. Sad news yesterday, Stevie, with the passing of former Rangers player Trevor Francis at the age of 69. He was an absolute hero of the game. Joined Rangers back in September 1987. Helped the club win the League Cup that season against Aberdeen in a shootout. Scored one of the decisive penalties. An absolute gentleman. It was at the tail end of his career when he pitched up at Ibrox. Prior to that, he was a European Cup winner with Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest. He was the first £1 million player in British football, and he was forever welcome at Ibrox. He was a real class act, wasn't he, Stevie? A sad day yesterday losing him.
Yeah, extremely sad news, and condolences to all his family and friends. First of all, also to the wider Rangers family, because Trevor Francis was someone, so I would have been just about 4 or 5 when he first came to Rangers, so my memories are very small, but obviously Mr. Cool, his penalty against Aberdeen, just 2 steps and then right on it into the bottom goalkeeper's bottom right hand corner. Jim Leighton going the right way but can't get there. It was such a good penalty, but he had lots of vision, lots of time on the ball. He made it look easy, like one of these guys that when he was on the ball, just his touch and his ability and his passing, he made it so easy. Had such an elegance. I think that's the right way to do it, right way to say it. Such an elegance about him on the ball, and such a nice movement of the ball and vision and range and stuff. And he certainly, he was just as big a name as any of the other English boys that were appearing at that time. Your likes of Woods, Butcher, and that. Trevor Francis was huge. Having already what you said about the European Cup and Monaco and stuff like that. So he was Sampdoria, an incredibly good player. And just a joy to have him at Rangers for that length of that short but length of time we had, and somebody that leaves a kind of a space in our heart from that period. Terribly sad news, Derek. Really is. Rolls Royce. That's such a and that's what I was trying to say about him being elegant and good on the ball and the way he used it and everything else. He was just a terrific player, and we're very privileged to have seen him for that length of time we did.
Yeah, as Tam Brown says, Francis was pure quality like Wilkins, cracking strip too. Yeah, it certainly was. And James Skeen says, remember Trevor in Forest days was a class player. Yeah, if you've not seen the film, I Believe in Miracles, do give it a watch, folks. It's about Forest winning the European Cup under Brian Clough. And of course, another sad day, we lost, not Rangers related, but Chris Bart Williams passed away sadly yesterday as well. He played under Trevor at Sheffield Wednesday when he was at the manager there. So, yeah, extremely sad day. I've interviewed Chris before, and he was a right bubbly character, a real cracking player in his day as well. So, sad day for the world of football. World's greatest DJ says, glad I got to see Trevor Francis in a Rangers jersey. R.I.P. Trevor. And as Stevie says, everyone at the Rangers Review send their condolences to Trevor's friends and family. Let's move on, Stevie, to a lot of news. Well, there's news this morning, actually, when it comes to transfers. We know that Rangers have been chasing Jose Cifuentes, the LAFC midfielder, for some time. Reports over there in the United States have said that Rangers, of course, we heard Michael Beale said a couple of days ago saying they have signed a pre-contract to sign him in January, but will now pay a fee to bring him in now. So that seems like a big development, Stevie. We have discussed this numerous shows now about Rangers negotiating with the MLS side to bring him in early. It now appears that there has been a resolution with regards to that, and we should see him pitching up at Ibrox soon.
It feels like we've been talking about this for months and months, so it'd be nice to finally get a resolution. Somebody posted or asked me a question last night about this on Twitter, and I said I was waiting for news on Jose Cifuentes and Danilo. So, we expect or hope to get developments on both of them, Derek, I think, in the coming days, which would be pretty big for the club. I'm excited about this one. I'm excited about both of them. But Jose Cifuentes, I think there was a guy I've put up on the Four Lads Twitter, folks. If anyone wants to go and have a look, I retweeted a thing from LA Stats, which is a kind of stats page about from their team over there, and it talks about what type of player he is. Derek, I'm going to bring it up actually because it's quite interesting, and it gives you a wee kind of detailed look at just how good he is and what kind of player he is for them. There's a lot of good stats and things. Like, it's basically an analysis of his statistics and stuff. So this is back from June. It basically says this season so far he's made 12 appearances with 8 starts. He completed more progressive passes than any of his teammates, 84. His 2 assists and 20 key passes are second only to Carlos Vela. Regarding his creativity, his current total of 47 shot creations is second only to Vela and Buenga in the league. He's the second most creative LAFC player with 4.99 chances per 90. His 4 goal creation actions is second only to Vela and stuff like that. So it goes on quite a bit. Also says like he's critical in progressing the ball with his feet. He carried the ball 390 times and advanced it for 1,011 progressive yards. So it basically goes on to explain a bit about his dribbling. I'm not going to go through it all, but that gives you a wee kind of insight into it. And it basically says that this boy is a link between the defence and the attack. He's a ball carrier, box-to-box midfielder, powerful, strong. It says that he's not got much of an eye for a goal. However, he plays in a team which has got 4 or 5 guys who does. So he maybe doesn't need to be that. His job is just to get it, shuttle it on, and pass it to the better players in the team to score the goals. Now, if you look at what we've been missing, and you look at what we've tried to add in Nico Raskin and Todd Cantwell and things like that, I think this boy's going to be the perfect foil for them. And you can't have, Derek, I don't think you can have too many players in this team, in this league, who are creating chances. So I'm very excited about it. I'm very hopeful that, finally we're going to get the go-ahead, because it seems like this boy said goodbye to his teammates about 400 times. So I'm really hopeful. Well, it does, doesn't it? I mean, how many times have we read it saying, he said his goodbyes? And I'm like, geez, again.
Some size of squad that.
I know, exactly. Going round them all and their parents one by one. I'm really hopeful that that can be done. And I will say one thing, Derek. I've said just, when I was last on a couple of weeks ago, I said that I thought our biggest business was still to come. I think Cifuentes and possibly Danilo, depending on where that is, and we'll find out hopefully over the next couple of days. I think these boys turn this window into a really exciting, a really good one. I think the window's been good so far. I think, we've showed a lot of good signings, a lot of players in there interested, really like Luca Lammers. I think, we're going to be interesting to see Dessers a lot more and stuff like that. But all of a sudden, you chuck these boys in, 9 arrivals, and I think we're almost there. I'm still eager to get a centre half in. That's the kind of greedy side of it. But, I think you get these couple of lads in and we're looking in real good shape. When we talked about a revamp or a rebuild, Derek, right at the very start of the season, I was rabbiting on thinking or saying that we needed between 8 and 10 and we needed a dozen or so out. So I think we're somewhere around maybe about 7 heading out the door, depending what maybe happens in Scott Wright and stuff like that. So, I think maybe 3 or 4 more out and these couple of lads in, and I think we'll be looking in very good shape and have a very strong squad. So it's then up to Michael Beale to tie it all together and get it motoring.
That's his job, yeah.
I'm very pleased with this one, Derek. One, because it's finally looks like it might be there, and 2, because of what type of player he looks like. I think he's a bit different. And as I said, check out that LA thread, folks. It's on. It's been retweeted. I'm sure we could even retweet it on the Rangers Review thread as well. And put it up, and you can have a look at it. It's very, very interesting.
Comment here saying Stevie is a modern day Stato.
Oh, I'm not. No. I just read stuff like that's Joshua who comes on and does that sort of thing, isn't it, Derek? Like I just read it and seem like I'm impressed. So, but I just thought it was nice context when we were talking about him. To give a wee bit of a feel of what he's like and what sort of player he is, because I'm not going to sit here and say I've seen him. I don't think I've ever seen him. I'm not even sure I've picked him up on Football Manager before, so I'm not sure I've got the greatest knowledge of this lad, Derek, I'm afraid. But that stat-wise from one of their own fans, it gives you a viewpoint of what he's like for them. So it's interesting. They call him Sifu as well. That's his name over there.
Sifu,
so I'm quite happy with that instead of having to, rabbit out Cifuentes every time. So Sifu it is. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I remember speaking to the LAFC podcast a couple of months ago now, it seems, and he was talking about him. Do go check it out on our YouTube page, folks. He gives great insight into Jose Cifuentes. And he said when Gareth Bale pitched up, he handed Gareth his number. He says he's a real team player, and I think that's one of the attractions, I think, as well. Michael Beale does touch on he wants good players, of course, for Rangers, but he wants to look them in the eye and know they're a good person, a good teammate to have around the place as well. So he certainly looks like he ticks a lot of boxes. Let's get to so many comments coming in. Let's get to a few of them. There was a question saying what would be the Rangers' best midfield 3. Unca Dave says Cifuentes, Raskin and Cantwell. That's got our mouths watering a little bit, Stevie. That seems like a very strong midfield. I know that some people... I know that Dill has played in pre-season and impressed, but he carries on. Uncle Davies says, Dill will also be rotating. The sooner we phase out Lundstrom and Jack, the better for us as a squad. Seen Lundstrom come in for a bit of stick over the last couple of games, Stevie. Is he going to find it difficult for a starting spot, do you think, if Jose Cifu comes in?
What I would say is that not 6 really good options?
Yeah,
for your 2 or 3 midfielders, I certainly think it is. And then you've got young Bailey Rice pushing, and I think he is pushing because he's had a really couple of impressive cameo friendlies. For a 16-year-old lad. I think when he came in, Derek, we did pay money for him for Motherwell. There was a lot of talk. It was somewhere around 100 grand, and you can see why we've spent it as somebody that age. I think he was maybe 14 when we signed him. He's only 17 at the end of October. So he's got a long way to go, but he'll be pushing, and he should be. I'd like to see him get given more minutes where we can. But with regards to that midfield, Raskin, Cantwell, Cifuentes, it is exciting on paper. I'd like to see the blend, how it's going to go. But I'd really like to see Raskin be the figurehead of this team, like right in the middle, controlling everything.
Yeah.
And if he's got runners like Cantwell and Cifuentes off him, I'm not sure I really want to see Todd Cantwell out wide. I've said this before. he kind of fluctuated out there a couple of bits from Newcastle. He's much more effective in the centre when he can press and kick. When he was a 10 against Celtic in that 3-0 victory and he sat right on McGregor, I thought that's when he was most impressive, when he could go and press and trigger the press as well for the team. Go and do that, go and win challenges, but be central, be a kind of focal point in that midfield and stuff. So it's interesting how he's going to do it. Maybe Raskin and Cifuentes will sit deep, and then Cantwell maybe in the centre a bit forward, and then you've got Lammers, and it's going to be Dessers and somebody else. But it's a really exciting team now. There's lots of options. Ryan Jack and John Lundstrom will play games. They will have game time. They will be needed for different kind of games. And I do think Lunny's looked a bit rusty in the pre-season games so far. He had a bit of a wild shot as well. I think against Newcastle, which nearly went out for a shy. So I'm not ruling them out. I just think, especially Ryan Jack. I think Ryan Jack's a cracking player. I really do. I really rate him highly. So I would have Jack probably ahead of John Lundstrom, in fairness. But I think, for 6 as well, and we're discounting, I'm not even mentioned Kane Dill, who you have said, and I do agree, has looked impressive. I think he looks quite tenacious. Likes a challenge, likes to be in there. So there's lots of options. I think that 6 is pretty strong. You get Danilo, Dessers, Lammers, and then you've got the likes of Roof, Sakala and stuff like that. If he stays fashion, so there's a lot of kind of questions. But there's all of a sudden, Derek, there's strength in there. So I'm quite pleased with how it's looking. And that's what I mean. If you bring these guys in, it suddenly goes from being good to potentially having a very, very good pre-season sort of transfer window. So I'm excited about where it's all going.
I'm going to come back to you shortly on that. Just the Grouch raised a point just when we're talking about Cantwell. He says that I see Cantwell's best position as a 10. How does Lammers fit in as a 10? Where will Cantwell play? Well, that's up to Michael Beale to find a position for both Cantwell and Lammers. They're 2 starters for me, Stevie. So that's up to the coaching staff to find a way in accommodating both top players, and they have to play. I'm really excited to see more of Sam Lammers, I've got to admit. But like you say, I wanted to come back to you on the forward line. I got a comment yesterday, I think it was in my DMs on Twitter or what have you, a supporter that's slightly concerned that perhaps Rangers are too top-heavy now in the forward areas. So many players vying for, 2-3 positions up top. You mentioned their Fashion Sakala, there were murmurings. It could be headed out the door last week, I think it was, or the week before last. Was told that was just rumours at the time. But can you see perhaps some outgoings in that forward line? I can't see Kamar Roof leaving anytime soon. I don't think there was going to be a queue of clubs lining up to sign him based on his injury problems in recent seasons. However, if Danilo arrives, it's going to Michael Beale's got a job in his hands, keeping them all happy.
I don't think we're top heavy enough for quality, Derek. So I think Danilo coming in is needed. I think if you look at the last couple of friendly games at Ibrox, Newcastle and Hamburg, there hasn't been a proper number 9. So with regards to, first of all, to address that one, in my opinion, with regards to Cantwell and Lammers, remember Michael Beale has spoke about using 2 number 10s before.
Yeah.
So I don't see that, or not changing, because that's maybe not right. They've maybe not done that so far, but I think that's still an option for them. Up front, I think that they've lacked a real quality. They have lacked a front line now, I think, since Michael Beale came in November time. I think the options had weren't working. I think we all know what happened with Alfredo and that, so there's no need to revisit that. It needed a freshness. But I still think this needs Danilo before it turns into being, a really good window. I also think Danilo's different. I think Dessers is somebody that's powerful, who will do a lot of running. There'll be a lot of movements. I think Danilo will come to Rangers and pitch his tent in the penalty box, basically, and that's where he's going to be. And we've lacked that. We have lacked somebody that is just goal crazy. We've lacked, and we talked about this, Derek, and I've written about it a few times about having killer players who are just there to score goals. I think Danilo is going to be that. Now, Fashion, we've spoke about him hundreds of times on here. We spoke about him everywhere. He's polarizes the support because there's a lot who think that he isn't good enough. And I understand why he's constantly offside. His touch is hit and miss, but he scores goals. He's very effective. He done well on Saturday against Hamburg. Persistence pays off. Then he wins the penalty. That's just the type of player he is. So I don't think you can rule him out. And I do think there's something in the speculation. I think that he could be one that raises £3-4 million if he goes out the door. But it would have to be a good offer for me before I would consider it. Kemar Roof's going to be there or thereabouts this season. We know that he is quality if he can stay fit, which is $100 question, which I don't think that, many of us really believe. If somebody would take him, you would let him go, obviously, but he's only got a year left, and I don't think anything, no matter what happens with Kemar Roof this year, I don't think Rangers should be in a position to renew that unless he has some sort of crazy season.
Yeah, Marco Negri style season.
Yeah, which you would only give him an extra year, and I don't really see that happening. I can see him pitching in with maybe 10, 12 goals. That would be a great help. But aside of that, you've got players in there. Scott Wright, we know, is there and thereabouts, apparently going out the door. Question for the manager, possibly. I don't think Rabbi Matondo is good enough. No offence to Rabbi, or, I know that may upset a few, but I don't think he's good enough. I think we should be looking to move him on. So all of a sudden, your kind of front options then become minimal. If you're looking at Sakala, Wright, Matondo, possibly being Yanis Hadji, where does he fit in? Is he available for transfer? So there's lots of questions. Still said this as well. If you read the article last week from myself on Rangers Review, still said there was a lot more to come this transfer window, not only ins but outs. So there's a lot more, Derek, I think, to happen. It's going to be interesting. And there's a lot more, I think, to do. We do have a big squad now, but Michael Beale spoke about this. He spoke about, having possibly 12 in, 12 out. That was a question I asked him after the semi-final defeat at Hampden.
Yeah, around about that figure, didn't he say that?
Yeah, and he said there would be somewhere in that number. Yeah. So, there's a lot of work still to be done, a lot of interesting things. We may have to sacrifice one or two that we're fond of, but not necessarily first team players. So when you start to look at the actual squad and the strength in it, and you add Danilo up there, I think we're starting to look pretty good.
Yeah, Abdallah Sima is another one, of course.
Forgetting all about him
as well.
There's your other option. I think he's looked decent, Derek. I know there's been some murmurings. I thought he looked better at the weekend. He showed a real turn of pace, got a couple across the face, a goal pretty well. I'm going to judge him. See, when you stick a number 9 and 10 where he can actually hit people and he's got people to target and cross in, he's been the number 9. I don't think he looks that comfortable. I think he's a runner. I think he's a wide player. I think somebody that, we're really going to try and use pace with and stuff like that. And he maybe not start every game, but he's going to be a useful squad player for us, I think. And he'll be in amongst the first team depending on his own form. So there was somebody, that I hadn't even mentioned, but he'll definitely be in and amongst that. And if you look at, so your front line being Dessers, Danilo, Sima, Roof, there isn't much room for the others. So I still think there's going to be outgoings and work to be done.
Yeah, Danilo's an interesting one, folks. If you've not, there's a piece on the website, a Q&A. I done a video with a Feyenoord writer for the Dutch publication Soccer News NL, and he talks at great length about Danilo and what we can expect from him. He says he expects him to be a link-up player with Dessers. He scored some important goals for Feyenoord at the start of last season before they brought in Santiago Jimenez, the Mexican, who is their number 1 striker. They don't need to sell Danilo. They're looking to bring in a replacement, but they said by all accounts that someone they brought in for a free from Ajax. He done extremely well last season as they won the Eredivisie. The only concern he has would be his physicality and if he could cope with the nature of Scottish football. He says the Eredivisie, of course, you get more time on the ball. That's the only sort of concern he has. But he says for £6 million, he's the best striker you can buy for that amount of money. And that is a move that seems to be edging ever closer by each passing day.
Big investment for us as well, isn't it? Sorry, before we go to some questions, it's a big investment. See, when you think about the outlay and what we potentially spent on a forward line, upmost of maybe 13 to 15 million pounds. There was some questions regarding how we would spend and if we were going to spend enough this summer. I think 15 million pounds is a pretty good outlay depending on what we could expect. Some of us had kind of guesstimated that it might be around that much, Derek, but I don't think you can fault the club, for investment. I don't think you can fault Michael Beale for targeting the forward areas. I think that's really where we needed the money spent. And then you look at guys like Butland and stuff like that and realise just how sensible they were. Dujon Sterling, fullback cover and stuff like that. So I think our business has been quite smart. These are the ones that are going to sink or swim, though, with regards to Michael Beale. You spend 6 million on somebody, you better be good. That's bluntly, that's where we're all going to judge, because it's all right Kieran Dowell turning up and being adequate and being a good squad player or being a good first team player because he was free. So people will expect that. They'll not really judge him on that. You spend 6 million, 5 million on Dessers or whatever it was, 3.5 on Lammers. These boys have to play. They have to get numbers. They have to start and they have to do well. And if they don't, that's when you'll see murmurings and questions being asked. So, no pressure, 25 goals from each. Simple.
Yeah, how hard can it be? We're always appreciative of donations to the channel, and thank you very much to the Magic Man 147. He says, if Danilo signs, what does it mean for SEMA? I don't think it means anything as such, Stevie, with regards to that. These players can play a hybrid of positions as well. They all will have a part to play during the course of what is expected to be another long testing season, both domestically and in Europe as well. We'll get on to the Champions League draw shortly, but I don't think it necessarily means anything for SEMA. Rangers were always going to be looking for that predatory striker. They've got one in serial.
Somebody to cross it into, Derek. So that's what it means, because if you watch the last couple of games, there hasn't been that. A lot of times he tried to hold it up against Newcastle and there was nobody near him. Given Newcastle are such a strong side, which I understand, but also in Hamburg during the week, he had, the weekend there on Saturday, he had a few that he fizzed across the face of goal and he used his pace out wide. And I think that's where he'll be the one crossing it in for Dessers and Danilo and stuff. But as you said, this is a big season. There's going to be lots of times for rotation, using players at different times and stuff like that. So what it means for SEMA is that he'll have more people to play with up there, and also I think, the potential for him to get more numbers. He can't do it all himself, and we really need to strengthen the forward line. So I don't think it means overly much for him. It just means there's more quality for him to work with.
Yeah, and that can only be a good thing for Rangers. Right, let's get to a few. So, firstly, this a nice wee comment for you, Stevie, from Dean Milne. He says, listen to the interview with John Spears the other day. Was a good listen. That's on the disability access and what have you at Ibrox. Stevie, very informative. A good listen it was.
Yeah, it was really good doing it. Understand, even, the guy said himself, it might be, a dry subject for some people, but I think that to give that information to the level he does to explain, I thought John was very good. And what I've got to realise as well is, I say this to people, it's a very nervous thing for John to come on and do it and stuff, because John's not a public speaker.
Yeah.
So having kind of dealt with these issues the last couple of years, it was really good to have him on. There is more interviews coming with the club, some really interesting ones. I've got one this week, so hopefully we'll be able to get that out on the channels as well, and you'll be able to hear that. So I'm eager. The club have been really good. They've completely changed their outlook. They're very keen to be forward facing, and answer questions and let the supporters know what is happening, particularly surrounding the stadium. So we hope to have more on that. But with regards to John's an excellent, really nice guy. I'm glad people enjoyed it. It did have a good download hit ratio, had good comments across all of kind of fan media. And I'm glad people enjoyed it. I thought it was informative. I thought John was really good. Yeah. And, it was nice to hear just how the changes are going to work at the stadium, what they're going to do with them, and what's going to happen. So, I appreciate the comment. It's nice to know, if you do these things, Derek, and one person likes it, I consider it to be a success. So,
it's good to hear from these guys.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good. Anything from the club, I think is really good and really welcome. So there will be more to come, and hopefully I'll be able to give some more information out about that. I'm looking forward to. Got a really good relationship with the club, so it should be more information coming.
Superb. Before we get to the Champions League draw, yesterday much thanks to William, who gifted some memberships to our viewers. James Quinn, just giving him a shout out to Dale. William, thanks for the memberships. Very much appreciated. Pint for you if we ever meet. Yeah, absolutely superb, William. That is very generous of you. So it's very much appreciated. Ian McNabb says, what hospitality can we expect at the live gig? A lot of hospitality. You'll be treated very well if you head along to New Edmondson House on Friday night. I'm told as well you can buy tickets on the door, so walk-ups, you can do that, but you are encouraged to buy tickets online just to avoid any disappointment in case the tickets are all sold out. But you can walk up to the door on Friday. And remember, doors open at 6:30 p.m. for a 7 p.m. start as well. We'll be on for about an hour, talking all things Rangers, and there's plenty to talk about, as you are well aware. We'll have a bit of a break for a beer or two or a beverage of whatever your tipple is before coming back on stage and chatting with Barry Ferguson about his 2 spells at Rangers and his thoughts for the season ahead. So it's sure to be a tremendous night. Let's get to the Champions League draw, Stevie. We've got a little surprise appearance from the dog, which is always greatly received. Absolutely fantastic. She wants to go on walkies, I think, Stevie.
No, she's been on every run with me, Derek.
Wow.
And stuff like that. And you should see her, the weight that she's lost. Like, she's actually a border collie, so she's naturally a very good runner and she's very fit and stuff like that. She's slimmed right down. I'm actually jealous. I wish I'd lost it at the pace she does, but she's looking absolutely fantastic. She's also had a haircut as well, which helps because she's got quite a big coat. But no, she's in good form and enjoying this newfound. She gets this, see, every 4 or 5 years when I decide to go on a fitness push, and then I do nothing for 4 years. So she gets a really good wee run of fitness. But yes, she always comes up and says hello during the show, doesn't she? So
yeah, superb. We love that. Big hello to Scott Mackay, says hello from New Zealand. Ossa24 is coming around. Yeah, that absolutely cannot wait for that. That's coming around at the back end of February over down there on the Sunshine Coast. So that's sure to be a tremendous event. If the Bangkok convention is anything to go by, then it's sure to be absolutely outstanding. So yeah, looking forward to that one. Right, let's get to the Champions League draw. Of course, it was made yesterday at lunchtime. Rangers have been drawn to face the winners of Genk of Belgium or Servette of Switzerland. The first leg will take place at Ibrox on the 8th or 9th of August, with the return on the 15th of August. Lots of comments coming in with regards to that. Lennox said, what do you make of the Champions League draw then? Tough tie, whoever we get. It's going to be tough, whoever you play, Stevie. What did you make of the draw, though? Are you satisfied with that? My opinion is Rangers should be expected to beat those 2 sides. I'm not saying it's going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. Look at last season when the difficulties we had with Union Saint-Gilloise and getting past them, who proved to be a sticky opposition. Belgian sides, for me, historically, are good footballing sides. Servette, don't know too much about, I've got to admit, but let's just hope the Rangers side and squad can gel in time for those games, which will be coming around very soon indeed.
Yeah, I'm going to say something that's not meaning to sound bad, but my reaction to the draw yesterday was, okay, fair, we're going to have to beat them. And no matter who we were going to get, and no matter what ties are ahead of us, they were going to be difficult anyway. So I know a lot of people have said, this is the worst draw we could have had or the most difficult one. And it may very well be. But the bottom line is, if you want to play in the Champions League, you need to beat teams like this. So for me, it's probably around somewhere around where, the Belgians were last year. It's probably somewhere around that level. I know potentially you could face PSV and Marseille and stuff like that. I'm not fazed by any of that, Derek. If we want to be in the Champions League, that's where we should be. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be difficult. I think the worst thing for us is we need to try and bed everybody in before these games come around. That might be the biggest challenge for us to get us playing, because there needs to be a realisation that with this many players coming in, that this might take a wee while. I'd feel a lot better depending on Connor Goldson and how he's going to be when he potentially comes back. Him and Suter at the back, Redvan at left back, and Tavernier as well. I'd like to come to Redvan actually in a wee minute, Derek, but you have that kind of freshness, then the midfield, the forward line. It's going to take a wee bit to gel, I think. So I wouldn't be surprised if you maybe do see Jack Lundstrom in these type of games just to keep a wee bit of familiarity in there for Michael Beale. With regards to them, I don't know a lot about them. This will not surprise anyone. It seems that whenever you ask me a question on a player we're signing or a team we're playing, don't know, mate. Don't know. So, I'll need to just wait and see what them about. But probably wrongly, I don't fear these teams. I know they're going to be difficult. I know they're going to be strong.
Yeah.
But there's not a trepidation there for me as saying, oh no, we can't beat them. We can beat them. We just need to go and do it. And that's probably the difficulty for us, is putting our team together in time to knock it about and look well for these kind of games. But I expect that, we should be there and thereabouts in these games. So there's no worries for me. Interesting draw. It should be fun. And we'll just need to wait and see what happens with it.
Yeah, and thank you very much to Andy Crichton, who's donated a £5 to the site. Thank you very much, Andy. That is greatly appreciated. He says, great show again, lads. Sorry about mentioning Genk as being a potential banana skin yesterday. It will be either Genk or Servette. I think the game's tonight, I'm not mistaken, the first leg, I think between the pair. So it'll be interesting to see who emerges victorious from that one. But Rangers will lie in wait as they hope to reach the playoff round of the Champions League. And just before we finish up, a nice comment here from a good friend of the show, Jim. Stevie says, Derek, I said to Stevie at the game last week that he's great for the Rangers Review ratings. Get him on more often. Good to meet Jim. He's a cracking guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I would say I thought it was Jim. I wasn't too sure. I work, Derek, as you know, with hundreds of people. I don't remember people's names, and then I'm pretty bad with remembering who's who. I thought it was Jim. I didn't want to say, but yeah, lovely to speak to Jim. We had a wee quick chat. Always nice to speak to him. Say hello whenever you can, Jim. But it's nice to have at least somebody that likes to hear your voice in the morning time. So, Jim, thanks for that, mate. Much appreciated.
Yes, superb. And
can we talk Yilmaz? Can we quickly? Because
yeah, go for it. Well, Loudrop 11 just says, I just wanted to touch on this. He's become a new YouTube member. We touched on this earlier with William dishing out the free memberships. Can he beat it for value? Wouldn't even buy you a coffee. Thank you very much, buddy. It's greatly appreciated. You can join us. There should be a join button on the homepage of our YouTube site if you're watching us on a desktop version of YouTube or Android. I believe if you're on YouTube, there is an option to change the settings so you can join and become a YouTube member. I think we're nearing 400 members already, which is quite astounding. So thank you to each and every one of you. You do get 3 to 5 extra videos per week. Stevie, Yilmaz, talk to me.
Right, so people will remember, and I'm quite happy to revisit this, and I wanted to revisit it actually. I said several months ago we were on here, Derek, and I said I wasn't sure. Didn't really like the look of him. Wasn't sure if he had a future or not. Didn't really know if he was going to cut it. I'm happy to say I've been quietly impressed by him. I thought on Saturday in particular, I thought he was pretty good. There was a through ball actually to the number 11 of Hamburg who was going straight in, and Yilmaz got his body across really well. Stopped the run, which meant he couldn't get anywhere near the ball, and Butland came in. And it was a small moment, but I thought, this boy's actually impressing me. I thought when he came on against Newcastle, he was sharp. I thought he showed some progressive passing. He's not got the crossing that Borna has, but sometimes Borna gets it and he'll just whip it in, and that doesn't work either. I think Yilmaz will hit the line more often, and I think there might be more to him. I think it brings a freshness as well to the back line that we maybe needed. So I'm happy to say that my early judgment was maybe harsh a wee bit. And he's impressed me, and he's one to kind of look. I'm warming. I think that's the right phrase. I'm warming towards him. I'm hoping that he'll be injury free, and we can see a lot more of him. I think he's quite a tenacious, wily wee guy as well. He is small, he is quite slight, but he gets stuck in. And I've liked the look of him. So I know that we had conversations. Xander and I spoke about it. Xander, who comments on this, we spoke about it before. I said I wasn't that impressed. So I've liked the look of him so far. I'm not sure whether or not Borna will stay. He might be one of the ones that goes out. Sterling can cover that side, so there's a wee bit there that might still happen. But for Yilmaz, I'm quite happy to say at this moment in time, he's bending my kind of opinion on him, and I'm starting to warm right towards him. So I'm really looking forward to see more of him, maybe see more of him against Olympiacos and then Hoffenheim at the weekend. But I'm quietly impressed by what I've seen so far, Derek. So I'm happy to have a wee bit of humble pie there, and revisit it, because sometimes, and I try not to do it. I still think last summer the money we spent could maybe have been distributed a bit better and maybe used better. So I think that's a different kind of argument, and I've maybe wrongly kind of pointed that towards Yilmaz. But so far, I'm quite happy to say that I've liked the look of him, and I'm more than happy to kind of address that as well, because there's no point in saying something and then not owning it and saying, well, look, I did say that. So I'm quite happy to be honest and say that I like the look of where it's went.
Yeah, listen, he's not the first player to come to Rangers and take a while to settle in, but I've enjoyed watching him lately as well, and I really hope that he can kick on, Red Fan. I think there's a player there, and he does offer a bit more than Bonner over on that left-hand side.
Do you know what else I like? Sorry, Derek, just to interrupt you as well. I like the fact that I might be able to interview somebody that's there on the
eye level,
Lammers and everybody else, where you're like, "Hey, how's it going?" So that's another plus point for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The Rangers are a team of giants now that going by the summer signings that have been brought in. Alistair's raises an interesting point. He says, agree with you, Stevie. Let's see more of Yilmaz and Yefeko. It's the only way these young guys can show us. Yeah, absolutely. Yefeko's another one that's impressed, hasn't he, Stevie? You touched on just at the start of the show about wanting another centre-back. Michael Beale was saying he was perhaps overloaded in that area with John Lee keeps impressing in the first team. I asked Joshua this yesterday, could he be the central defender that you're looking to bring in? Could we just promote John Lee Yefeko?
Interesting question, isn't it? Because friendlies don't tell you a lot. Excuse me. Sometimes, if you journey back to West Ham last year when we pretty much destroyed them, we were 3-0 up, and Ravi Matondo looked like the second coming. So, I thought I'd finally found somebody to replace my love for Scott Wright, and that kind of fell flat on its face. So, what I would say about the young man is, I think he's looked like he belongs in there. I think he looks pretty solid. I think he's good on the ball. He had a really good clearance with his head, actually. Hamburg boy smacked in a shot and he put his head in there to get it away at the weekend. He had a couple of diving header clearances. He's certainly got the stature. He's a big boy. Like, he's a big boy. I remember speaking to, funnily enough, Owen Coyle and Mark Haitley in one of the cup games last year. And they were saying that Owen Coyle was saying that he'd played in perhaps a youth cup final and he really impressed him. And he had really impressed Mark Haitley. They were commenting on it at the time. So he's certainly kind of impressed throughout the ages. I think that's fair to say. When you got guys like that who played professional football, are picking him out last year, way before, and he went through a bit of an injury spell. So I am quite confident. And I think when you're starting to move on the likes of Lewis Mayo and stuff like that, even with the homegrown status and things, I think potentially they're moving them on because they're trying to make a pathway for John Lee to come in. So it's an interesting one. I quite like Michael Beale's comments. It's nice that if these boys do impress, they're going to, force their way in and maybe get a chance. So he's certainly got early promise. That's what I would say. Could he be fifth choice or something? Perhaps he could be. I still think, and this is only personal opinion, I think that Suter and Goldson could be very strong. I'm quite happy with that, depending on how Suter gets to play on the left and stuff like that, and would he be comfortable. I'm quite happy there. I'm not sure after that if Ben Davies and Leon King are ready to come in for spells in that team at centre-half. Only my opinion. I'm a bit unsure if they're maybe good enough to come in. Would I like another one in there if I was given the opportunity to swap maybe one of them out and put another strong addition in there? Would I? I'd be tempted to say yes, especially with John Suter's situation. So that's my only feeling. it's just a wee bit of nervousness around the centre-half position. I don't know if anybody else feels it or that's a fair comment. I don't want to be down on Leon King, or I don't want to be down on Ben Davies. I'm just not sure that they could come in for a spell. I don't think King's ready quite yet. I think he will be, but I don't think he's ready quite yet. I really like him as a player.
I'd send him out on loan when he comes back fit.
Possibly, possibly that's an option, but you still need somebody else coming in there. So I still think maybe there's a question mark over our centre half, and maybe get one more in. That's all. That's just an honest opinion.
Yeah, interesting. But certainly keep up the good work, buddy. If you are watching the Rangers review, I'm sure that the players tune in religiously. But well-deserved praise for both Ridvan and John Lane. Hopefully they can both keep it up. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Remember, I've got a game tomorrow night. I forgot all about that. I've got Olympiacos coming to town tomorrow at Ibrox. Cannot wait for that one. We'll look ahead to that properly tomorrow morning. But until then, folks, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thanks to Stevie for joining us on the show. When you next on, Stevie? Is it Thursday?
Thursday morning, Dale.
Yeah, just before I forget, folks, it will be earlier on Thursday morning because I have to catch a train up to Glasgow on Thursday morning. So we will be with you at the slightly earlier time. I'm not too sure if I've asked you this before, Stevie. You okay?
Nobody's told me anything. So that's nice.
We'll sort it out. Roughly be around around 9, just after 9, perhaps, folks. But we'll keep you posted. But it's because I need to go and catch a train. I don't think we can do the live show on the train. In all honesty, so
I'll need to not rabbit on as much, Derek, because the reason we come on and do 45 minutes is just me just talking non-stop. There's no way we'll do an hour on Friday night either, because if the mic comes to me, I'll just be rabbiting on for ages.
So for 3 weeks.
That's it. So folk are certainly going to get their good value out of the live show on Friday night, that's for sure. Just ask me something and everybody will be bored for 15 minutes.
Right, folks, that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy your Tuesday. Bye for now.